Hi everyone. Today's topic is Thailand versus Vietnam. So, if you're someone who wants to come and travel, visit, or even live in one of these two countries, I thought I'd provide you some of the pros and the cons to each, having spent considerable time in Thailand and Vietnam. So, let's get into it. The first topic is cost of living, which is a popular topic, of course. So, I would say Vietnam is actually cheaper overall. It is maybe the cheapest country I have ever visited, so it's a real budget-friendly destination. It's really a developing country. There are some places in Ho Chi Minh City and a little bit of Hanoi where you can find a lot of modern amenities and also these up-and-coming places like Nha Trang or Da Nang, where you can find a lot of the convenience that you might be used to in the West. But yeah, mostly in the big cities. And it's still relatively cheap. But if you want the actual Western standard, you're going to have to pay a premium for that, of course. A lot of imported goods and things like that. But if you want to live and eat like a local Vietnamese, then the options for budget are, you can just eat like a local and it'll be $1 to $2 per meal. It's incredibly cheap. So in Thailand, it is also incredibly cheap compared to the West. It is slightly more expensive than Vietnam. So for instance, if you want to have some street food, then actually the prices are quite comparable, although Thailand might be a little bit higher. But still, we're talking like 60 baht for a meal, which is $2. In Vietnam, maybe you get it for $1 to $2, one and a half. So there's a difference there. And if you want to rent a condo, a place to live, then in Vietnam, you are going to get it a little bit cheaper. So let's compare the bigger cities, for example, Bangkok and Ho Chi Minh City, also known as Saigon, which is a fair comparison. So in Vietnam, you might pay between $300 to $700 for a very nice condo. And in Bangkok, you might pay between $400 and $800 for a really nice condo. So there is a difference. It's not huge, but Vietnam is slightly cheaper and Thailand is slightly more expensive. The thing is, most people that I've talked to, myself included, would actually consider Thailand to be a little bit more value for money. It is a bit more convenient, a little bit more developed, not by that much, but overall the country seems to have come a little further in terms of convenience, infrastructure, luxuries, available things like that. So what you pay in Thailand is going to be slightly more than Vietnam. However, you might get more value for your buck. I'd say it's a toss-up. Vietnam is objectively cheaper. So if you're a really ultra budget conscious person, you might want to choose Vietnam. And if you want to get more value for your money, choose Thailand. So food is a very important topic for many, myself included, and Vietnam is a food paradise, let me tell you. They have all kinds of good spring rolls and noodle soup, the infamous pho you might have heard of, or you get a banh mi, like this, baguette, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, a little bit inspired by the French, of course. And then filled with pate and salad. They use a lot of coriander or cilantro if you're from that part of the world. Yeah, so it's very fresh. They do salads incredibly well. Yeah, and it's super cheap, as we discussed in the previous topic. So, Vietnam is really great in terms of food. And at the same time, when you talk about Thailand, I think the Thai cuisine is just world renowned for its intense flavors. So it's going to be very spicy, of course, but it's also going to be fresh and it's going to have very rich flavors and a lot of variety. I would say I love the food in Vietnam. It's very fresh. I think it's healthier in Vietnam than Thailand. And in Thailand, you get more variety and, richer flavors. That's obviously subjective. That's up to you. I give the point to Thailand. And I think a lot of people love the Thai cuisine. Something to note about street food in Vietnam and in Thailand is that in Vietnam, when you order street food, usually you get it and then you're supposed to go sit down on these little you know, child-sized plastic chairs and tables. You're almost sitting on the ground, and it doesn't feel very sturdy at all. Maybe it's because I'm 6'3" and I weigh quite a lot. Yeah, it's just not built for me, but I don't like that experience much. I can deal with it from time to time, and I love to go to Vietnam and eat street food, but that kind of bugs me a little bit. It also exists in Thailand, of course, the more simple seating for street food. But, you know, oftentimes they will have proper sized seating and tables for you when you order street food in Thailand. So I think that's a plus for me. Healthcare is an important topic, and especially if you're coming here to retire. So having a good healthcare system is a safety net that you're going to want to consider. And in Vietnam, healthcare has come a long way, and it's insanely cheap. High standard, maybe not always up to the top of the world standard, but the value for money is definitely there. It's super cheap and high skilled. So yeah, but it's mostly concentrated to the bigger cities. So if you're in Ho Chi Minh City, also known as Saigon, or in Hanoi, you'll find very good healthcare. You know, in Thailand, they're just renowned, again, for their world-class healthcare at a low cost. It's gonna be more expensive than Vietnam, but they're also a little bit further along in terms of skill. So you're safer in Thailand, I would argue. You pay a little bit of a premium compared to Vietnam, but it's still so much cheaper than the West. And medical tourism is a huge thing in Thailand for a reason. People travel to Thailand just specifically to have a procedure or some type of healthcare or maybe dental care. So it's a top destination for medical tourism, and that says a lot. If you live in Vietnam, you're gonna be fine. They are skilled, they've got you covered. It's very cheap, so if you really are budget conscious, then again, kind of the same theme as we've been hearing throughout this video is that Vietnam is heaven if you are very budget conscious. So yeah, but I would say the value for money, again, in Thailand is definitely there. And they are a medical tourism destination for a reason. So there you go. So in terms of infrastructure, if we go to the countryside, these countries are very similar. They have some really good roads between many of the main towns. So in Vietnam, it's going to be along the coastal areas between Hanoi down to Da Nang, Hoi An, and then down to Ho Chi Minh City. And then as you go out to the periphery, the road system gets progressively worse onto very uneven gravel roads. And it's basically the same in Thailand. But they have a very strong road system and rail system. Same as Vietnam, by the way. They also have a good railway that goes between Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh. So, by the way, short tangent, I actually took that train, a night train that took 17 hours from Hanoi to Da Nang, and then almost the same thing again going from Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh City. And both of the times I had just a bunk bed in a room there in the train. The neighbor was Vietnamese, a bit older, and just non-existent English. So we just had some charades there for 17 hours, had some good food together. I didn't know how to eat some of the food, so he showed me how to eat it and just smiled, and it was a great time. So yeah, short tangent. But the railroad is good in both countries. A little bit older standard, but you know, Sweden has a very old standard as well. It's kind of the same. The roads in Thailand, as I was saying, is kind of similar to Vietnam, where they are very well maintained between cities like Chiang Mai and Bangkok, down to Pattaya and down to Cambodia, and also south toward Malaysia along the Gulf of Thailand along the coast. So it's pretty good heading down to Surat Thani and, you know, south from Bangkok past Hua Hin, Chumpon, etc., down to Phuket as well. And they also have a bridge over to Phuket. It's like well connected. Yeah, so the infrastructure is good. I would say the internet connection is stronger in Thailand. It's incredibly good. In Sweden, we have super good internet, and in Thailand, they have better internet. So incredibly fast. I'm always surprised by the fiber optics availability here in Thailand, but superb. The internet is okay in Vietnam, but I did actually encounter a few times where I did not have satisfactory internet. If you've ever been to a city like Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, and you've tried to cross the road, you would know about the traffic there. And it's literally, you have to put your faith into motorcyclists to avoid you. Basically, you just put your life in their hands, and then you just start walking steady. Do not change your pace. Just walk with blind faith crossing the road, because there's no traffic lights and they will just cross, and you just have to trust them to avoid you. That's the safest thing to do, because if you're like a deer in headlights, they might actually hit you, which is more dangerous. So blind faith, walk, and then steady pace. You'll be fine, but it feels like you're putting your life on the line every time you cross a busy road in Ho Chi Minh City. Now, Bangkok, of course, has crazy traffic as well, but it's a lot safer. Now, the cars and motorbikes generally go before pedestrians, which is different from Sweden. I don't know about your country, but for me, that was a little bit of an adjustment. In Vietnam, they drive on the right side of the road, and in Thailand, they drive on the left side of the road. So I don't know which one you prefer. But yeah, that's traffic, infrastructure, internet. For me, the point goes to Thailand, but Vietnam is really good too. There's nothing to complain about, really. Main draw for many when coming to Southeast Asia are these huge limestone cliffs just jetting out from tectonic activity, out from the ground, up into the heavens, and then they have this monsoon rain coming down on them, shaping them to be jagged, next to crystal clear turquoise waters and white sand beaches. Well, both of these countries have that in abundance, so you can't go wrong choosing either or. It's absolutely incredible. In Vietnam, we have places like Sapa in the north, which are renowned for their amazing rice fields and beautiful mountains, lush green hills. It's just super beautiful. And I'd say Vietnam has a lot of untouched nature, a lot more off the beaten path than Thailand is, even though Thailand has a few gems here and there. It's a lot more touristy than Vietnam is so far. So if you want untouched jungle and amazing mountains, really, untouched nature, I would go to Vietnam for sure. And they both have the wonderful beaches and the limestone cliffs. In Thailand, maybe there's more variety. They also have mountains, not quite as amazing as the Vietnamese ones, but really, really cool. And in Thailand, they also have a lot more national parks marked out and maintained. So that's a plus if you like that. So in Thailand, there's just everything from mountains to beaches to huge cities. And, some parts are incredibly touristy, like the southern parts of Thailand around Krabi or Phuket, or also Surat Thani, Koh Samui, places like that. But you can also go to like Koh Koot or Koh Chang if you want a more quiet time. So there's something for everyone. I'd say both countries are incredibly beautiful in terms of nature, quite similar, but Thailand has that, tourist infrastructure a little bit more than Vietnam has. On the other hand, if you're the more adventurous person who wants to go off the beaten path, then that's definitely a plus for Vietnam in this case. They also have the world's largest cave, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's really cool. Now, in terms of culture, these two countries are very interesting. So they're both Buddhist predominantly. I'd say Thailand is more the practicing Buddhists. They actually go to the temples a lot. They make merit, they pray, they meditate, and they just go there regularly. It's quite common. And I think they actually believe in karma and all that stuff. They are the land of smiles for a reason. They really do smile at you. They treat you very kindly, always, in my experience. So yeah, I've made a video about scammers. You can check that out. But that's a very, very, very small percentage and in the most touristy areas possible. So you can watch that video and you will be guarded against all of the scams. But almost all Thai people are absolutely amazing. And they do speak English a bit, especially in the touristy areas. So if you are there, you can probably use your English to get by. And if you head out to the countryside where mostly Thai people reside, then yeah, they don't speak English that much. And that's kind of the experience in Vietnam as well. In the big cities like Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, Da Nang, actually to the less extent Da Nang, you will find English-speaking Vietnamese people. But the younger generation actually do speak English quite well. I don't know if it's because of the media or something, or if they learn in school a lot more now. But Vietnamese people, young people, they do speak English. It's kind of the same with Thailand. But I would say English is more prevalent in Thailand, probably because of the more popular tourism destination status that the country has. But Vietnamese people speak English more and more, I think. Also because their tourism industry is booming. Overall, it's easier to get by speaking English in Thailand than in Vietnam, in my experience. Both people are incredibly friendly. However, it's easier to connect with the Thai people because of the English point there. But they're just all smiles. And I mentioned they're both Buddhist. I would say in Vietnam, they're Buddhist on paper more, and not as many people as a percentage are as serious about Buddhism as Thai people are. So yeah, they might be Buddhist on paper, but not as much practicing as a Thai person would be. In terms of culture around food, I would say food culture, cuisine is stronger in Thailand. However, coffee in Vietnam, they have a very strong coffee culture, and coffee is world class, super good. You should try a Vietnamese egg coffee as well. Now, safety might be something to consider when you choose a country to visit or even live in. And I would say Thailand is slightly more safe than Vietnam, even though Vietnam is also a very safe country. As an example, just, practically, if you drive your motorbike in Thailand and you want to go into a mall or go to a restaurant or run an errand to something, visit someone, you can just leave your motorcycle helmet on your bike, loose. No one will take it. If you're in a coffee shop or, at a restaurant or something, you can leave your phone or your laptop on the table, go to the bathroom, and then come back and be 100% sure that they're still going to be there. I don't know if this is because karma or, they believe in that stuff in Thailand, or it's just incredible. I've never seen anything like it across my travels across the entire world, but Thai people don't want to steal anything from you. In Vietnam, I don't have as much experience with that. I'm sure it's safe there as well, although Thailand is just hard to beat in terms of safety. Now, again, there are some rotten people all over the world. It's going to be a small percentage probably, right? But in terms of the general culture, it's just so incredibly safe. If you're a solo female, for example, you can easily just walk around at night in Bangkok. No problem. In Vietnam, I don't know about that. I haven't spent that much time, at night in Ho Chi Minh City or something. I was more in the smaller cities and towns there and in Hanoi. But it feels safe in general. Yeah, I just haven't heard any bad stories from anyone I've met in Vietnam or Thailand. They've told me it was a bad situation. So, safety is just not a huge concern in either of these countries. Might be because of Buddhism or just a general culture thing. Just very safe. Okay, so in terms of visa, to be able to stay in these places, if you do want to live there for a while or for the long term, I'd say Vietnam has visas, quite easily for shorter term stays, and they also have visa exemptions that are very easy to obtain for decent amounts of time, and then you can extend as well. And then in terms of long-term visas in Vietnam, that gets a little bit more tricky. Even more bureaucracy, if you can believe it, compared to Thailand. But I think Thailand has kind of upped their game there recently. They also have a 60-day visa exemption when you enter Thailand, and then you can easily extend it. Like a week before it expires, you can just go to the immigration office and get another 30 days to a total of 90 days visa exempt. So that's like having a tourist visa, pretty much. So the difference is basically visa exemption, You have to show that you have an onward ticket before you enter the country. If you have a tourist visa, you can just enter the country because you have a visa, right? And they just trust that. But still, it's very easy for short-term stays, I would say, in both countries. Now, I mentioned Thailand has kind of made good visas more available than in the past. So you have like a education visa, still quite good. It has been there for a long time. Or the more entrepreneurial visa, where you can have your own business and have a visa for that. Or you can have a work permit, which is also quite easy. But if you get fired, you gotta leave right away. It's kind of an unsafe position to be in. Like literally, next day, get out. So, yeah. But they also have these new things like the DTV, Destination Thailand Visa, a 5-year visa where you can stay 180 days per visit to Thailand. You can either be a digital nomad and show that you have a certain amount of money in the bank saved up for that safety net, and also proof of income or employment. Now you can also do cooking classes or Muay Thai classes or something like that. They call it the soft power skills to get the DTV visa. Anyway, it's not too complicated to obtain, and it's a 5-year visa. So I would say this point actually goes to Thailand this time. But at the same time, Thailand does have a reputation to change their visa rules quite frequently, so might be a little shaky as well. And Vietnam seems to be just up and coming, you know, better and better visas and easier time for tourists and people who want to live there, digital nomads or retirees. It's just getting better and better. So we'll see how that develops in the future, but at the time being, maybe I would get the point to Thailand. So to conclude things, maybe you've kind of heard the tone that I love both countries. They're absolutely amazing. You should visit and live in both of them if you can. Now, you might also have heard that I lean a little bit more toward Thailand, and I do live in Thailand currently and loving it. However, I think Vietnam definitely has a place for the adventurous person who loves the more rugged place that Vietnam is. It is a little bit more untouched compared to Thailand still. And if you're after that, then go to Vietnam. It's also cheaper, as I've mentioned. Super, super good. If you want a little bit more infrastructure and convenience, you know, quality of life, bang for your buck, then I would say Thailand is the choice. So if you want less tourists to contend with, go to Vietnam. If you want a stronger expat community or tourist community, come to Thailand. Now I'd say both of these countries are just excellent for expats, retirees, travelers, digital nomads, tourists. Absolutely amazing countries. Can't say that enough. We have low cost of living, incredibly friendly people, super cool places to visit, beautiful nature, wonderful culture, super good food. Okay, is there something you think I've missed? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let me know in the comments. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.